Welcome back to Project Eggroll. I'm Phil, and today we're going to be talking about Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. I remember growing up, there was a bunch of movies that people were like, oh, have you seen this movie? Have you seen this movie? And one franchise they always wanted me to see was Indiana Jones. I actually never watched any Indiana Jones growing up. And I believe the first time I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark was probably like 6 years ago. And I thought that was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. And it's a fun adventure movie about a dude who's just wanting to find cool shit and putting them into the museum. So I thought that I was like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a shot. And I really enjoyed it. So I remember talking to Grae and folks in the chat saying that, oh my God, you guys have to watch it. So Grae ended up making a review video for Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Temple of Doom. And I'm going to be doing The Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm not looking forward to the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because I heard it was really bad. But we do have a couple people in the chat, one of our mods, who actually enjoys it. So I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to go in with low expectations, hopefully be surprised. But let's go ahead and talk about The Last Crusade. I believe the movie came out in 1989. I was probably one. Yeah, I think I was one when the movie came out. So yeah, I never actually watched these movies. I never really enjoyed live action movies much as a kid, unless it had like crap ton of violence or Jackie Chan was in it, right? So my dad never watched Indiana Jones, I believe. So I never got to watch it as a kid. But the movie starts off with young Indiana Jones trying to, I believe he steals the cross of Coronado from a random dude that eventually gives him his hat, which is pretty cool. You actually know the origin story of where he gets his hat from, which is great because the hat of Indiana Jones is actually really significant. I believe the actor who played young Indy, his name is River Phoenix. He's actually really good. He embodies a lot of what Indiana is, and I'm surprised we don't see him in more things. I'm not sure if he's still alive. I'm not sure he's still acting, so maybe I can Google it and check more of what he's been up to. The funny thing is I did hear that Indiana Jones had a scar right on his chin, and I believe the reason why they did that was Harrison Ford actually got a scar in a car accident on his chin. I believe it's right over here. Ended up putting it into the movie on how he got it. So there's a scar. And I believe they also did this with Mark Hamill with, what's it called again? Empire Strikes Back. I believe in 1977, Mark Hamill got into like a crazy car accident, which fractured his nose and his chin or his cheeks. I forgot. Or parts of his face. He thought that he was going to quit acting altogether because he was maimed or defaced or whatever. But yeah, they ended up adding that into Empire Strikes Back when he fought the Wampa in Hoth, which is actually pretty cool. John Williams, of course, does an amazing job with the Lucas IP. The music is really good. Anything that's directed by Steven Spielberg, I feel like John Williams is always going to be a part of, which is fantastic. I really enjoyed John Williams' score. The story is about Indy looking for the Holy Grail. I believe a guy named Donovan contacts him, and the movie goes from there. But moving forward, I believe there's like a funny flirtatious scene between Indy and the blonde chick. I believe her name is Dr. Schneider, if I'm not mistaken. And she goes on and says, "You have your father's eyes." And he replies with, "And my mother's ears, but the rest belongs to you." So as a kid, I probably wouldn't have picked that up or thought nothing of it. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh, that's some subtle flirtatiousness between both the characters, which is actually pretty funny. Another funny part that I thought was when they were actually in the library and he was like trying to break the floor with like some kind of metal object, and the librarian that looks like Albert Einstein is like stamping the books. So whenever Indy hits the ground really hard, the librarian stamps the book, which is actually pretty funny because he thinks that he's doing that noise. Which is, as a kid, I would have really enjoyed it. Another thing that I heard, I believe the rats, once they enter down into like the pits after Indy breaks the floor, I believe all the rats in there are real, right? All of them are real. There's no CGI back in 1989. If there were, it was really bad, but these rats are all real. And I heard they were all actually bred for this movie, which is pretty fucking cool, right? Of course you don't want any random ass rats that has like fucking the black plague or some shit like that, giving actors and the people on set some crazy virus or getting them sick. So it's actually pretty cool that they bred these rats specifically for this movie. Another thing was that I remembered in this movie was The part where they were both getting chased, I believe Indy and Dr. Schneider, they end up leaving the museum, and they were being pursued by dude with like red hats. I believe they're called Fez, Fezes or whatever, Fezes. And what happens is that one of the boats actually goes in between two ships, and the two ships sort of collide and crushes the boat. But when the boat gets crushed, it explodes instead, which is actually pretty damn funny, because I don't think that actually happens in real life. I thought that was something that I wanted to point out. Another thing is, another funny part that I remember is when Indiana Jones actually goes into this haunted castle looking thing that's actually being occupied by Nazis. And when he goes in, he puts on a weird Scottish accent, which is actually pretty fucking funny. I actually laughed out loud, and I thought that, wow, Harrison Ford can actually act. Like, because I've only seen him in Star Wars, and he always acts sort of the same, but like I didn't see any type of like comedic chops that Harrison Ford had. But actually being funny here, I probably want to check out more of Harrison Ford's earlier work.
You intend to leave us standing on the doorstep all day with the wrench? Look, that gun and caught a sniffle. Are you expected?
I believe afterwards he goes on and rescues his dad, which is played by the late Sean Connery, which I love Sean Connery. They actually have a lot of good chemistry between the both of them. Indy hates being called Junior because, he likes being called Indy instead of Indiana, but even though his real name is Henry, and he just hates being called Junior. His dad always calls him Junior. That's his name the entire movie. And you can tell that he's always wanted his dad's approval, and he never actually got it in this movie until like very, very late in the movie, right? His dad is always very, very into his work, and he never really once cared for him. I believe later on in the movie, they actually both talk. I believe they're on a blimp and actually have a serious conversation, right? The dad's like, all right, you want to talk to me? Let's talk. He puts down his book and he talks to him. He's like, what do you want to talk about? I'm all ears. And the son, Indy was like, I don't know what to say. It's like, you weren't there for me. He's like, what are you talking about? I gave you your privacy. I treated you like an adult. I didn't have to baby you and stuff like that. So there are some, part of me being growing up and always wanting my father's approval or appraisal or whatever, right? And I do somehow see myself in Indiana Jones and seeing my father not really caring too much about me because he's so into his work, or he's just, too busy or something. The funny thing is later on you found out that Indy actually gets double crossed by blonde chick, which is Dr. Schneider, and she's actually working for the Nazis, right? The funny thing is that Sean Connery's character, let's call him Sean Connery for just instead of saying Dr. Jones or whatever. Sean Connery actually, you find out that how he gets captured is actually the same way how Indiana Jones gets captured, is actually being tricked or fooled by the hot blonde, and they actually slept together. It was actually pretty funny. So there's a lot of like subtle adult humor, which is actually pretty cool because this movie is actually made for kids, and I actually really enjoyed it. While trying to escape the Nazi headquarters, the spooky, scary castle, Indiana Jones actually does a lot of really, courageous, cool stuff, right? Like jousting an enemy off of a motorcycle, throwing a stick in between the wheels of the another enemy's motorcycle and causing them to flip over or crash. And he looks at his dad, and his dad sort of just gives him like a look, a face, and you could tell that Indy's is seeking that approval from Sean Connery, which is pretty funny. Later on, Sean Connery and Indy both go to Berlin. They find a girl. The crazy part is that you actually see like Indy go a little dark, right? He actually sneaks up on Dr. Schneider and grabs her, takes back the book. At the same time, like he chokes her. He's like, I could just squeeze and then it'll be over. I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty dark, right? Especially, this day and age, you can't have a man choking out a woman. I remember one time, there was a billboard of Apocalypse, right? We're talking about X-Men now. Apocalypse choking Jennifer Lawrence's character Mystique, and everyone got up in arms and saying, oh my god, how can you do this? And this is during the Me Too Times Up movement at its like peak, right? It's at its like plateau. It's like it's up there. Everyone's talking about it, how men are pieces of shit. So I'm pretty sure you cannot remake this movie right now, is because you can't have a man choking a woman. You can't have that shit. Later on in the scene, I believe a bunch of fans of the Nazi people, right? Because they're in Berlin. This is during the whole Nazi regime with Hitler. And the funny thing is that Indiana Jones actually meets Hitler. He bumps into Hitler. I guess everyone is asking Hitler for his autograph. So he turns around and he's holding the book where it will lead him to the Holy Grail. And then Hitler grabs the book, opens it, and signs his autograph and gives it back to him, which is actually pretty funny. So there's actually, you know, a chase scene which involves a tank. And the crazy part is the entire time, I'm like, holy crap, Harrison Ford is actually doing his own stunts, right? There's no green screening a lot of the stuff that's happening, you know, back in the day. There's just not a lot of stuff that you can cover up, no 3D effects or anything. So like you see, you know, the rocks that are falling onto his hat, and then like he's like holding on to the barrel of the tank. It's crazy, which is fantastic. I love practical effects. I wish they do more of that, right? Like I'm not sure if the Dial of Destiny has any, you know, practical effect, but I'm pretty sure, you know, with Harrison Ford being like 80 or some shit like that, like I'm pretty sure they're not going to have any practical effects. It's because, you know, dude is old. Harrison Ford's old, right? But in this movie, he's spry, he's good looking, right? He's pretty handsome. Ha! Gay! Like during the scene where Indiana Jones actually takes out the tank and he takes out the bad guy, you know, you actually in the movie you actually think he dies. There's actually the first time you actually see a zoom up into Harrison Ford's eyes and his hat flies off and he thinks he falls over the ledge. His dad thinks he dies, and like he's like, oh my, I lost my boy. I lost him, right? And then you see Harrison Ford, you know, Indy, he climbs back up from a branch or something, like he didn't die. And this is the first time he, you know, his dad shows him some kind of like affection, right? He hugs him and he's like, okay, you're still alive. And this is also the first time he praises him. He's like, yeah, I believe he says like good job or something like that, which is pretty cool, right? And getting positive affirmation, positive approval from your parents is always a good thing. You know, I wish my dad gave me some positive appraisal.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they...
I believe later on they both find the destination, how to get to the Holy Grail. And I believe they actually go inside. There's a whole bunch of other shit that happened. But one thing that stuck out to me was the part where the bad guy, Donovan, right? He's actually the mastermind behind the entire thing. He grabs, you know, the fake Holy Grail cup, goes and grabs the water and drinks it. And he turns around and, you know, puts his hands on Dr. Schneider, you know, the female, and he goes and starts aging incredibly fast. And this VFX that they did looks so good. It still looks good today. Like how they did it is wild, right? He turns really old really fast in front of her, and I thought the practical effect on that or whatever visual effects that they did looks fantastic, right? It looks awesome. Another thing is, I didn't know that Indiana Jones, the franchise, had such influence on modern day cinema, right? Or even TV shows or entertainment, right? For instance, in the beginning of the movie, during when young Indiana Jones was trying to escape because he stole the Cross of Coronado, they played this music. And this specific music was used in Family Guy. It was so funny. Like Peter Griffin actually started like humming it, and it's the funniest shit. Another thing is the part where a lot of people keep memeing or keep saying that you chose poorly. You have chosen wisely. I had no idea that it came from The Last Crusade. I had no idea. I believe How I Met Your Mother did a bunch of you know, Easter eggs to this. They used it in a lot of their gags. Same thing with a bunch of other entertainment, which is actually pretty cool. After acquiring the actual I was going to say Goblet of Fire, the Holy Grail, right? Finally acquiring it. Indiana Jones uses the water and the Holy Grail to save his dad because Donovan shot him, that piece of shit. He shot him, right? And he used it to cure his dad, which is pretty damn cool because that's exactly what I would have done. And then dumbass bitch, Dr. Schneider, who's pretty good looking still, man. Go Google her. She still looks great. She grabs the Holy Grail, tries to leave the cave, right? And you're not supposed to leave the cave with the Holy Grail or shit's about to go down. And it does. Shit actually does fucking fall apart. She drops the cup and it goes, and you know, there's some kind of fissures that's happening. Tectonic plates start shifting. Earthquake happens within that cave. She falls down, grabs onto the ledge. Indiana grabs her, like, oh, I got you, just give me your other hand. And she's like, no, I need to get the cup is more important. And then while trying to grab the cup, she loses her grip and falls to her death. And then at the same time, Indy falls, and then his dad catches him. He's like, I got you, son, I got you, give me your other hand. And then he's like, no, I can grab the cup, I'm so close. And this is the first time, instead of calling him Junior, he says Indiana. He actually calls him by his name, which is like the first time his dad actually calls him by his name, because he always called him Junior. And this goes to show that he's actually acknowledging him, using a nickname. And it's actually a nice touch, a pretty damn nice touch. And, he ends up saving him. They hug and stuff like that. And then they leave. Man. And then at the end of the movie, him, Sean Connery, I believe Sala, who's also in the movie, is actually pretty awesome. I love Sala. And Marcus, I believe the dude who doesn't know how to do anything. All four of them ride off into the sunset. It's like a very good end to a franchise. It's a very good end to this series, the 3 movies that made Indiana Jones. But they're like, we need more money. We need more Indiana Jones. And we know that Harrison Ford is sort of old now. He's not super old yet, but he's sort of old. Let's go ahead and bring him back and do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which is the next movie I'll be reviewing. I hope that it's not terrible, that it's watchable, because I've seen my fair shares of shitty ass movies, and I heard that this one was not good. Even South Park made fun of it, and how they said that Lucas himself and Spielberg, plowed Indiana Jones into oblivion. But I'm looking forward to that, definitely.
Why are they doing this? They're just taking Indiana Jones and they're raping him! I can't watch! Let's get out of here, Kyle! Why would Spielberg and Lucas do this?
But if you guys enjoyed this movie review, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share this video with all your friends. I know I'm not Grae, I'm not the scholar, I'm just the annoying Asian man who's just angry and yelling all the time, who's stuttering, who doesn't know how to read. Yeah, that's me. But, I like doing my reviews off the cuff, not really scripted or anything like that. I have some notes, some bullet points here. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy the review. And, if you like it, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. Thumbs down, thumbs up, whatever you want. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.